Hello and welcome to Coffee with Dr. Carla. I am Dr. Carla. This is Mel, and we are so glad that you are here with us today. And our goal is to talk about some different mental health related issues and hopefully start to end the stigma around them. And I know when we were talking beforehand, we really wanted, we both have a passion about getting that conversation started about mental health and eliminating, maybe in our lifetime, but at
Right.
least reducing the stigma that seems to come along with it.
Yeah.
And so, I'm wondering if you could kind of share your story and, kind of how you've encountered mental health help and the stigma that sometimes gets thrown at us when we try to get help.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me. The conversation around mental health and mental wellness has been at least a 25-year conversation for myself. I'm 38.
I was going to say, because you
The
don't look much older than
Yeah,
25. So, okay.
so I'm 38, but I have been seeing therapists or social workers or school counselors, what have you, whoever I had
Somebody.
access
Right.
to since I was 14.
Okay.
Basically went into high school and had multiple counselors available willing to talk to me. And unfortunately for me, it was, oh my God, I have adults that are willing to listen and care about,
Okay.
how I'm feeling and what I'm going through. And I happen to have a really kind of tumultuous childhood, teenagedom, suffered from, not really feeling like I belonged and suicidal ideation and all these really heavy things for a teenager to deal with. And I had family that didn't understand mental health and mental wellness, and that it wasn't something to be ashamed of and it wasn't
Right.
something to be embarrassed by, because I grew up, don't tell them you're anxious or you're feeling that way, because they're going to put you in hospital and
Right.
you're going to be committed and they're going to take away all your rights. And like, oh, I was so scared to ask for
Right.
help.
There's only two spots on the continuum. You're fine, or pretending to be fine, or you're in a straitjacket in a padded room. Right. Like
Exactly.
there's nothing in between. Right.
Exactly. And I really believed
Yeah.
that for a period of time.
And so does many, many, many,
Most
many,
of
many
most of
people,
the world.
and still believe that. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sad,
Yeah.
because I certainly I can't imagine where I would be now if I haven't been doing the work I've been doing since I was a teenager. But the hurdles that I had to overcome to just get some help back then, I don't really know that we're in much different of a situation. So 22 years ago when I tried, I'm a high schooler.
So
22
that's
years
two.
ago, I don't have a job.
So
That's
it's year 2000,
2000. Yes. So
2001. But
yep, I
right. Okay.
graduated in '02. So that period of time, I didn't have a job. I had no way to pay for a therapist, nor was I going to go to my family and tell them I needed help, and then they would activate, go somewhere through my insurance, so on and so forth. So I found myself, school counselors found me a sliding scale
Oh wow.
therapist off at a township, for Worth Township. There was a
Yes.
therapist there that was willing to see me, as long as I didn't discuss my suicidal ideations, because they have to report it at that point. So it's like, come to the people who are going to help you, but don't talk about the thing you really need help with, because then I have to do other things, right? I have to start the domino to go down. And it was almost like going for the help made me almost feel worse.
Because you're
But
going to deny that piece of it,
right.
right? But like, that's interesting because there's a part of me that wants to say, okay, they at least let you know. We talk about letting people know the risks and the benefits of
Hmm.
starting counseling. So, one of the risks are that if you say these
Yeah.
particular things, I have to do.
Yeah.
I'm mandated to do certain things, right? So, in some ways, I could see what they were trying to perhaps
Yeah.
do, but in many ways, they weren't. It wasn't
And you were saying it to a
useful.
teenager who
And you're saying,
doesn't understand
right,
the
right.
complexity behind
Oh
all
my
of that.
gosh.
All I
Okay.
saw it was, I'm going to say something, gosh forbid, say something wrong, and I'm going to be taken away. Right? That
Again,
is the
because
concept.
we're okay or hiding it, and we're in a
Exactly.
rubber room, right? Okay.
Exactly. So, therapy for a lot of years for me was, I knew I needed it because, like, something, I don't feel right. Right.
Hmm.
Eventually, generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, OCD, ADHD. I get all my diagnoses, and I'm like, well, I still don't really feel better. So it's, what is it that is, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing, and what is still not helping?
Right.
And I kind of had the realization that I wasn't really having authentic conversations in therapy because I was still so scared that therapy came with you still had to follow the rules or you were going to experience XYZ, get taken away, get in trouble, get put in a hospital, all these things that are really
Sure.
scary to a
Because in
person
many ways, that
developing.
therapist confirmed the fact that one slight, misstep,
Yeah.
and then here we are.
Yeah. And now obviously I have better understandings. I think I have significantly more educated therapists that I have access to now that I realize I can be very authentic. It is only a disservice to me if I'm not authentic and not completely open, so on
Right.
and so forth. And there's a way to have that conversation that it doesn't feel like that word is off the table the second you do that, right? Some alarm goes off and I'm going to start, this domino. It is establishing with that person how how deep are you really when you say those words or use a particular terminology versus that's just something you have to talk through. And so talking about my feelings in therapy has is liberating.
Yeah.
It's liberating. I don't have people in my life that let me go really deep and like 20 what ifs just because that's how I process and talk through it. And so therapy is it's talk therapy for me. It's understanding where's the North Star of the healthy decision is and how I can compare that to mine. And I can't imagine where I would be if I didn't stick with it, knowing like I know I should be here. I know I should be. It wasn't feeling great for a while there.
Right.
You
This
know,
isn't quite right.
yeah,
I want to make sure that people understand that, decisions being made around, people saying that they have different suicidal thoughts or ideations is not an automatic hospitalization.
agreed.
So, like, I want to dispel that, but, I also wanted to, understand that, also understand that that therapist thought they were doing you
Yeah,
a favor. But I suspect since that therapist, with other therapists, you have had conversations about
absolutely.
suicidal ideations.
Yes.
And so maybe can you contrast for
Yep.
us? So
Sure.
we have don't say the word because then I'm going to activate this,
Yep.
extreme plan versus
Yes. So I can openly have the discussion with my therapist now that circumstantially something has brought me to a place of saying, would the world be better without? Would I be happier not here? Right. And because those are going to forever and ever, so long as I suffer from suicidal ideation, I'm going to process through those things and processing through them externally with somebody who can really weigh in on, rationality and realism and all these extra things that help me stay in check. I can have those conversations now and never have I've had the same therapist now for 8 years. And honestly, with her, I have never felt concerned that she's going to take something I say and wield it some way that is going to make me, feel punished, if you will, for what I said.
yeah, to weaponize it.
Yeah.
And I suspect you probably have like different plans and different things in
Lots.
place, like, hey, if this, then that, like let's talk about where resources or
Yep.
supports are, what happens if these things go down, right, which is ultimately the way it should go. But also to be fair, clearly those plans and that rapport you have with your therapist um, have been enough to stay at least you know arm's length, maybe a little closer at times, but not actually have uh, the need or desire to step into that
Yeah.
actual trying to carry it out. Um,
Absolutely.
but, and if you did, I suspect you would hope that your therapist would pull that
Help me pull all
said
the appropriate
trigger.
levers.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. I would say I have really almost a decision tree that when I'm feeling this, execute on a support plan, whether that's move up a therapy appointment, tell the trusted friend who knows to watch for the signs of kind of the conversations I'm
Yeah.
having, right? It's not always just the therapist that helps. It's kind of an ecosystem of making sure your mental health is taken care of with all of the people
Nice.
that
Yeah.
are, your best interest is their best interest as
Nice.
well.
Yeah.
So
And
I execute it, right? Call the person, call that person, and then things are moved, medication's where it needs to be, and I get taken care of within, a couple weeks feeling like I'm back to normal.
right. Right.
Normal.
Yeah. As normal
As
as
normal as I need to be at that day.
right.
Yeah.
So, kind of a final word of wisdom. what might you say to folks?
I would say, even if therapy, the idea of therapy is scary, or you're in therapy and it's not really feeling like it's working, that I would hope that everybody would stick with it, because it will work, right? You will eventually find the right mix of the right therapist, mixed with how it is, how often we meet, and what it is we talk about, and how we dig in. Like, just stick with it, because you will find the right thing. And when you do, it is it's life changing
Yeah.
for how you can better cope with your everyday.
Yeah, I so agree. So agree. So remember, you can change your thoughts, discover your potential, and transform your life by focusing on being your overall best person. And hopefully, you'll continue to work on those things. And we'll see you next time.